are back for yet another live Monday. What's up, everybody? What's up? My name is Laura Cantu. In case you are new, hi, I'm Laura Cantu. In case you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I do see a couple of our, past viewers, past friends. You guys are my friends, are back, like Andrea Newman. She says, hey, wave, and the little, woo emoji. We also have Mila Bea. Yay, you're back. You are back too, girl. What's up? How are you? It's so nice to have you back. And it's so nice to be back on another Monday. Usually Mondays are not my favorite day of the week, but it's actually the live streams that are my highlight, the highlight of my week. So thank you so much for being here. And I will wait a few more minutes for a few more people to join. So let me know in the comments, how was your weekend? If you can hear me, send me a thumbs up in the chat because I want to make sure that you guys can hear me. It looks like the mic's on. I made sure of it. I just, you never know if sometimes something is wrong or things are not working properly with technology. So let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me, and let me know where you are joining from. I'm here as always in sunny South Florida. Very, very warm over here, but we're doing well, things are good. And I had a really nice weekend, and now it's Monday because, that's the way that weeks work. So today, I will be talking about a very important subject and something that I actually really like. It's one of my favorite things to talk about with parents and students. Today we are talking about how to correctly build a college list. All right, college lists are a big factor of a student and just a family as a whole, college application and financial journey as well. There has to be a lot of thought, a lot of strategy, and a lot of research that goes into, creating a college list. And the reason why here at Best College A, we put such a big emphasis on college lists and being really strategic and, doing your research is because this can really make or break, how much money you can receive for college, how happy your student, or if you're the student, how happy you will be at a university, because students and parents, students shouldn't only be applying to a school just because their, friend is going there, or just because their grandfather went there or something like that, right? Students should be going to university because it's the best fit for them, because it is the best place for them that is going to fulfill all of their academic, all of their extracurriculars, and all of their personal needs, right? And I will go dive deep into this as we go into the presentation, and I will answer your questions as well. So if you do have a question, don't forget and don't be shy. You can ask it in the comment section. I always answer your questions. I like answering your questions. I like seeing what are the things that people constantly struggle with, because that also helps me create more content, helps us create more content for social media and things like that. So if there's any questions, don't forget and don't feel shy about asking them, all right? And then Andrea says, this week I go to school, right? A lot of schools across the country are starting this week. I know in South Florida and here, school starts next week. And then in Miami-Dade, it starts on the 23rd, I believe. So it's either this week or the next couple of weeks, it's when people are starting to go back to school. So that's really exciting. And we do have a video coming up about, readiness and supplies to get for school. And we have a lot of content comment for students and for parents about, back to school and things like that. So keep an eye out for that. And good luck, Andrea. College. Well, college is around the corner because you're going to be a junior, right? I remember you've been here in past live streams. So you're saying right here, let me show our friends watching this, that you're going to be going into 11th grade. So that's junior. So this presentation that I'm going to talk about today, this should be of interest to you because you should be working on that college list, right? Parents, 11th grade is when the students should really buckle up and create that college list. Make sure that it is more than 50% done. And a student and parents and students can start looking for colleges and creating that college list ever since the student's freshman year of high school. Doing maybe visiting schools, maybe researching, looking online. But by junior year, that list should definitely be, well thought out, and there should be a few schools in there. And the reason why it's important to start early is because sometimes it's good to know what these schools often look for in a student. So throughout high school, that student can prepare and can have those things that the school usually likes and has in those past accepted students, right? So good luck, Andrea, in your 11th grade. And if you have a question for us, don't hesitate to ask. And I'm really happy that you continue to come back for our live streams because it hopefully means that we are giving you good advice. So thank you so much. Alrighty, so why don't we get started? It looks like we have, it's 1:06. So I guess we can begin. If you have anybody that would benefit from this presentation, somebody that you can share this live stream with, go ahead and do it. The more the merrier. As I said, we here at Best College, we like to help families, parents, and students. Know that there's a lot of opportunities out there and take advantage of those opportunities because here in the U.S. There are plenty of opportunities out there, especially with the education system. And I will talk about that throughout this presentation. For example, there's over 2,000 colleges and universities in the U.S., and there's a lot of great schools that a lot of students and parents don't even know about. And that's why it's very important to have a very thorough research process when creating a college list. And finally, one more thing before I get started. I will say the word research so much throughout this presentation, throughout this live stream, because research is a big part of the college admissions, of the creating your college list. And by doing some good research, that could set you up for success when it comes to receiving financial aid and institutional aid, all things like that. Research is a big part of this. All right. So why don't we go ahead and get started? And I do see some questions. I will answer questions throughout the presentation, so stay tuned. All right, let's get started. Alrighty, so how to correctly build a college list. So what does this even mean? What's a college list? A lot of people are like, they ask me, why create a college list in the first place? So basically, in a short version, a college list is a list of universities that students and parents work together, they do their research, and it takes time and strategy, and over time they come up with a list of 10 to 12 colleges that, as I said, there's a lot of thinking and research that goes behind that list. And this list is a list of colleges that the student will apply to, and this colleges, there's a reasoning behind this, choosing all these universities. This parents and students shouldn't be just saying, oh, Harvard sounds nice, oh, Yale sounds nice, and then the student just applies to all the Ivy League, but they don't really have the academic standing to be accepted into any of them, This is just a really extreme example. That is why it is important to research schools. Or sometimes students will just apply to colleges that they like, but they didn't do any research on the financial aspect of things, and they apply to all these schools that maybe they will get accepted into because they have the grades, but then they get accepted and they come to find out that none of these universities have good financial aid packages, because they didn't do their research, and then they cannot even go to school, or they have to drop out, or transfer. So this is why we do a college list. This is why we create a college list. We create a college list, parents and students, to avoid things like this, to avoid having to transfer out, because transferring from a college It can be done. A lot of students do it, but you want to avoid that. Parents, the transfer process can be detrimental in a few ways. Maybe the school that the student goes to during that first semester won't take all of the credits that, won't transfer all the credits. Maybe that transfer process will be a little bit stressful for the student. So we want to avoid things like transferring, right? Also, like I said earlier, students want to avoid things like getting accepted into a school that they didn't really research for, and they come to realize that they cannot even afford that school. So that's why creating a college list is imperative, and it's very, very, very important. All right, so a few things to consider things to remember before creating a college list is every list will be different for every single student, and I will talk about the little aspects, like breaking down the college list later on, but some students will have a set of, schools in their list that is quite different from another student. So don't compare your list, don't compare the schools that you're applying to your cousin or your best friend, right? This is your journey. Parents, this is your student's journey. So every student's list will be different. Students and parents put the same, and I will talk about safety schools, but just remember this for later and I will mention it again. Students and parents should put the same amount of thought and effort into finding safety schools, because there might be a chance that the students ends up going there. So I will explain safety schools later, but this tip, basically what I'm saying is with every single school, there should be some thought and effort into applying to every school, because if the student applies to all these schools, right, and only gets into one, the student doesn't want to get accepted into the school that they just threw in randomly, right? So every single school in that list should be researched thoroughly, should at least interest the student, and can, be something that the parents can afford and things like that. So every list in that school should be well thought out, and there should be some effort when applying to that school. Also remember to create a College Board account and use their search engine to find schools. The College Board has a search engine similar to, the fastweb.com and Unigo, where you kind of just put in all your information and things that your personal information, and it throws back a list of scholarships. Well, the College Board has a search engine for schools. And the way it works is students will fill out this survey, and they will say, their age, what they would want to major in if they know it. They will also list their extracurriculars, and whether they want to go to a small school, to a big school. And then once they fill all that part out, the College Board search engine will actually give them back a list of all these schools that kind of fit into that, their search criteria and things like that. So make sure, students, that you are taking advantage of the College Board search engine for schools. Also, parents and students, please be realistic about the institutions that are being added to the students' list. I would talk about target and reach schools in a bit, but just try to make sure that you are, parents and students, you're being realistic about whether the student has the grades to get into that school. If potentially they wouldn't get a lot of financial aid, can they afford this university? Things like that. Just be realistic, and this is where communication comes in. Parents and students talk to each other and be honest with each other. Let each other, parents, let your students know how much, if you will be able to help them financially, and if not. That's a very important thing to know, because this will help the student. Okay, no, all right, so my parents say that they can only give me, help me with this amount of money a year. I need to figure out how I'm going to pay for this, right? So that's why communication and talking to each other is very important. And as I said earlier, research is very important, and especially when creating a college list. Students, you want to make sure that you are researching, and a big part and a big aspect of, starting to create your college list, and parents listen to this as well, is knowing yourself, knowing what the student has to know what their likes, what their dislikes are. If the student doesn't really know, okay, this is what I want to major in, maybe have an idea of a few things that they want to major in, a few things that interest them. Also know what your passions are, what your extracurricular goals are, because that will make the process of, looking for schools much easier, because you will know what you are looking for in a school, right? So now, like I said earlier, research. Look for schools, parents, and students that meet the student's personal, academic, and financial needs. So when creating a college list, the most important things to look for with schools is these schools that actually meet the students' needs, right? And financial, cost and money are things that are very important. As I said earlier, we don't want the student to get accepted and realize that the school that they applied to didn't even offer them financial aid. Also, academic needs. Going back to what I said earlier about being realistic about the students' grades, their academic standing, and, researching schools that are going to meet that, right? Their level of academic success and academic standing. And also personal. With personal, what I mean is, what schools are going to help the student succeed with their extracurriculars. If the student likes, big crowds, or is a very, like sports and spirit, like sports spirit, school spirit, things like that, maybe a large university will be better for the student. Whereas if the student is more of, an introvert who likes smaller classes and having more of a relationship with the teacher or the professor, maybe a private school will be better. So these are all things that go into, things that students and parents need to think about and consider when looking for schools. Which takes me to my next point. Things to consider when looking for schools. And these are, this is just a list, but they're very important, all right? So things to consider about the specific universities and when looking for colleges. So parents and students, listen up. Consider this. When you're looking for a university, when a student is looking for a university, they need to consider the programs of study, whether or not the school offers the major or the potential majors that the student wants to maybe pursue when they go to college. If they happen to not know what they want to major in, maybe have a list of things that the student is interested in and look for schools that have those programs. But if your student kind of knows, all right, I want to be a doctor, so I want to go into pre-med, make sure that the schools that the student is applying to have those type of programs, right? So that they can succeed. And all right, another thing to consider when creating a college list is the cost and financial aid offered at a university, right? Students and parents, you want to make sure that you are researching thoroughly how much financial aid the specific college that you're looking at give. Are they known for being generous with students, and families? What's their EFC, right? All those things that, and by the way, we go in Best College Aid, we go in depth. And we really talk about all these things in more depth and we explain it. So this is just, a little bit of information, because college lists and all of this is something so intensive, and I could talk about this, sit here for hours. So there's a lot, to think about and to know, but yes, remember that and if you want to be a part of Best College Aid, of our membership, our online course, we do have a special summer, because the summer is coming to an end, a discount down below, and it's linked to this video's description. So if you want to take advantage of that discount is rapidly coming to an end, because the summer is, as I said, ending. So if you do want to be a part of Best College Aid, make sure that you check out that link, and take advantage of the coupon. Okay, so back to what I was saying. All right, so also, students and parents, you must consider internship opportunities that the university has to offer. You know, these are things that are very important and things that will matter in the long run, right? Maybe not when the student's a freshman, but when the student goes into their sophomore, junior year, internships is what is going to set them up for success. So these are things that also should be considered. Maybe the parents can help the student in that realm, in that area. A lot of schools are known for having a lot of internship opportunities. I knew when I was in college, my school had a lot of good internship opportunities for students, specifically internships in New York City, because we were so close to New York City. So that was something that I was very attracted to when I was applying, that it was close to New York, and they usually helped students find internships in the city, right? Another thing is size. I said it earlier. Some students are going to be more inclined to going to a bigger school because they love school spirit. They love going to football games, you know, they love going to things like that. So maybe the right school, the right fit for them is going to be a large university or state university, right? And some students are more, shy, or they don't really like big crowds. They don't really care for sports. And when it comes to, school, they rather have smaller classes and build connections with other students. So maybe a smaller private college might be better for them. And also, one thing I do want to mention, a lot of people get scared or get thrown off when somebody says private university. Just because the university is private doesn't mean that they don't give good financial aid. The school that I attended was a private college, and it was expensive, but their financial aid packages were also really, really good. So don't get, just if someone says, oh, private schools are so expensive. Yes, a lot of them can be, but usually financial aid packages for private colleges tend to be most of the times tend to be really good. So that's why research is important, right? If I wouldn't have done my research about Marist, I probably wouldn't have known that school was actually really generous and had good financial aid awards for students. Alrighty, so next item on the list is extracurriculars, of course. When looking for colleges, when creating your college lists, parents and students, make sure that you're looking at a university's extracurriculars. What are the programs that they offer, how do the students have to, apply, or, if there's a specific club or something, how easy it is if they want to play a sport, like be a D1 athlete or be a part of a school team, or if they just want to do it kind of just for fun. There's also intramural sports that some schools have. So these are all things that the student and parents should be, on the lookout for. Obviously, location. This is up to the student, whether the student wants to go far away or wants to be close to home. Consider those things when looking for colleges, and consider your options. If you have a school that's close to your home, or a set of schools. For example, myself, I live in Florida, so there's a bunch of schools in Florida. But I knew that I didn't want to stay in Florida. As a matter of fact, I wanted to go up north because I really like the cold weather and things like that. So I was looking for schools more up north, right? So yes, if your student is somebody who I know my daughter wants to go to California, maybe start looking for schools in California, and help them through that process. Use the College Board search engine. I mixed those two words together, okay? But using the College Board search engine will help parents and students, will help you find those schools, right? All right, and oops, wrong slide. Also, another thing to consider when looking at schools is the school's retention rate after that freshman year. Retention rate is basically how many students stay at the school after that freshman year. There's retention rates after, for the first year, for sophomore year, but usually parents and students, if this is something that you're interested in finding out, make sure that you look at the retention rate for after the first year, that freshman year in college, because this will give you an idea of how many freshmen stay, right? Because you want to know, why sometimes some schools have a very low retention rate. You know, a lot of students transfer out, and that might be something worth looking into and worth researching it, right? Graduation rates is something important that has to be considered when creating a college list. How many students graduate from that university, you know, since they apply since they started freshman year and, you know, complete and get a degree. Also, what are the in-campus job opportunities? A lot of students, and I actually recommend to a lot of my students, have a campus job. It is very good, it's very helpful, and it's always nice to have extra money, and you can make connections, right? And sometimes, actually, somebody asked me last week if they should, you know, aim for having a in-campus job when they're in college, and I said yes, 100%, because parents, believe it or not, once the student goes to college, they, especially mainly that first year, they will have a lot of free time, a lot of time to kind of just not free time as in like they're going to be lazy, but they will have time to have a job, specifically because in college, students sometimes have a schedule where they have a class at 9 a.m. and on a Monday, and then they won't have a class for the rest of the day. So for the rest of the day, maybe they can have a job, so they can have, you know, an income and to use for activities or for groceries, things like that. So I 100% recommend, you know, when looking for, you know, if you have a student that's going to go to college, have them try to, you know, get a campus job, because it'll be a nice way to spend time, gain money, and also gain experience. So yeah, definitely look at job opportunities when looking at a university. And housing, this is something really important. A lot of students apply for college, and parents too, and they don't even look or think about the college housing, and they get there their freshman year and they are horrified, or they have no idea that the school doesn't have an AC. Actually, my school at Marist, the facility was beautiful, and since it's mostly cold during the year, they don't have an AC for most of the freshman dorms. So you had to bring your own fan for that, like, first month of college, because it was warm. It could get really warm at night. So yeah, that was fun, and a lot of people. I knew that, obviously. I knew that going in because I did my research, and hence why research is very important. But a lot of students didn't know that, and a lot of parents were really upset, and it came to a student's surprise. A lot of students were like, oh, I'm going to leave. So yes, these are very important things and things to consider and things to remember when looking at colleges. So okay, housing. Make sure that you look at the housing, because that's where students will be living for, you know, if they want to stay in campus housing for a long time, they're going to be living inside the college dorm or, you know, the college apartments. So that is something that has to be researched, and things that, you know, are important to know. And just student life in general, you know, what are the what's around the school that is not, you know, campus related, or even on campus, what are activities that are not necessarily extracurriculars. You know, I'll use myself as an example again. My school had a student life office where they organized trips to New York City to go watch Broadway plays, and where they you know, sold tickets for concerts at oh my gosh, I'm blanking. But yeah, you know, they sell tickets for concerts or to go skiing, things like that. Things that, you know, I was a theater minor, so going to Broadway was, you know, ideal for me. So I definitely, when I saw that and when I found that out, that really made me want to apply to that school, because I knew that I wanted to go to as many Broadway shows as I could. So that is something important that parents and students should be considering when applying to colleges, right? All right, so I actually have a question here from A12, and they say, hey, hi, A12, love the name and the picture. Can you get into college with bad freshman year grades? All right, so if you didn't perform well your freshman year of high school, don't panic. Students can still recover from that and still, you know, go to great universities and, you know, go to college and still get scholarships. I had a friend who, her freshman year, she transferred in the middle of it, so she had a really bad freshman year experience, and she didn't have good grades freshman year. but sophomore, junior, and senior year, she completely turned it around. She got straight A's, and she, since she knew that her grades were not as great freshman year, she tried to get really good scores in her SATs and make up for it in like extracurriculars. So it was evident when she applied to colleges that she knew that she messed up or she had a hard time that freshman year, and she showed that she tried hard and that she was dedicated by doing well in the other years and making up for it in other areas. So yes, you can still get into college if you had bad grades freshman year. So don't panic, don't worry. And if you didn't perform so well freshman year, colleges also love a success story. So you can show them that you really care by how my friend did it, turning things around and trying to improve that GPA, trying to, get involved, be in extracurriculars and study for those SATs, ACTs, whatever exam you want to choose, because you can make up for that, right? That's a great question, A12. Thank you so much for asking. All right, so next. Now on to the, like my brother says, the meat and potatoes of the presentation. So every college list, every student's college list should consist of these three things, should be divided into three things: reach, target, and safety schools, right? And I will explain each one of them. But basically, as I said earlier, a student should apply to between 10 and 12 schools. Some students apply for more schools, which is totally fine and totally acceptable. But yes, there should be around 10 to 12 on average. And some of those schools should be a student's reach school. Some of them should be their target school, and some of them should be the safety school. So let me break it down for you. Let me explain first what a reach school is, and hopefully you like my little giraffe reaching for the little tree branch, because I love giraffes and I couldn't really find the picture. I don't know. Anyways, that's not the matter or the main point of this presentation, but yes. Reach schools. What is a reach school? All right, so a reach school is schools where the students' academics rank lower than those of the majority of accepted students. So this might be a school where the students' grades are they're a little bit below the average student who gets accepted into the school. So let's say that a student has a 3.7 GPA, and this school usually accepts students with a 3.9. But the student also has good extracurriculars, has everything else. It's just, that GPA factor that is a little below the average. This might be a reach school because it doesn't meet that school's, average academics and rankings. It doesn't meet them. It's not equal. So some people say reach schools are harder and they're not, 100% certain that the student will get in. And by the way, as I said earlier, every student is different. So for some students, a reach school might be Harvard and Yale. For some students, their reach school might be UNC, UF. For other students, FSU might be their reach school, or UCF, or Wake Forest, things like that. So every reach school, every set of lists, and every list is going to be different for every student. So please remember that. Don't compare yourself. Parents, if you have different kids, don't compare your kids. Their list will be, remember, they are the ones that are going to be studying, and they are the ones that, are taking the classes and everything. The role for the parents is always to be there as kind of like a resource to help them with whatever they need and guide them and just be there. So remember that it's always good to, when creating a college list, to have lists that are the best choice for the students' academic, financial, and personal needs, right? All right, so back to reach schools. These are also schools where the acceptance rates of these schools are low while admission standards are high. So usually for reach schools, these are in the students list, these are going to be the schools that have the lowest acceptance rate, right, out of all the schools in the list. And obviously the standards for admissions will be higher, so there will be a little bit, not requirements, but maybe these are schools that will like to have students to have more extracurricular involvement, leadership, things like that. And also, reach schools should make up 25% of the students' prospective college list. So there should be around 3 to 4, reach schools in a student's list. As I said, there should be 10 to 12 colleges in total. And 25% of those colleges should be reach schools, right? And finally, chances of admissions at these schools are lower. So basically, to sum that up in easier terms, a reach school is a school that it will be a little harder, and it will be the hardest schools to get into compared to the other schools on that list, right? And for some students, they might choose schools that they have the average grades and the average, requirements. But usually with a reach school, students should be pushing themselves. And if they know, okay, this is my GPA, these are my test scores, I should throw in some schools that maybe I don't feel comfortable, or maybe I don't feel confident that I will get into. But, if I showed enough leadership, or I started my own club, maybe I might get into this school, That's why it's reach, it's a little high, and it's not 100% that the student will get accepted, but there's a lot of students that get into one reach school, right? Or they get into 2, so you never know. That's why, as I said earlier, all of the applications, all of the schools in this list should be well thought out, and there should be the same level of effort, right? Because who knows, maybe the student never really knows. Parents and students, you never really know where the students will end up, whether it is because of financial reasons or scholarships, or maybe they only get accepted into one school in their list. That's why every school should be a school that the student sees themselves attending and sees themselves being happy at, right? All right, so the next school on the list is target schools. So target schools. Target, right? Bullseye. So what's a target school? So these are schools where the students' academics are ranked within those of the majority of accepted students. So basically, a target school is where a student's academics meet those, the average that the school usually accepts. The acceptance rates of these schools are slightly higher, yet admission standards are still high. So these the acceptance rate compared to the reach schools are, a little higher. It might be a little easier for the student to get accepted to, but it shouldn't be like, oh, I'm 100% getting into the school. There still should be some, with the target schools, the admission standards are a little high, right? Students should still, work hard in extracurriculars and leadership, things like that. Target schools should make up 50% of the students' prospective college lists. So there should be more target schools. That's what I recommend, in a student's college list, because these are schools that maybe students have a, bigger chance of getting into, and the chances, as I said, of admissions are reasonable, typically better than 50-50. So there should be like a 50% chance at least that you're going to get accepted, that your student's going to get accepted into the target school. So remember, a target school is a school where the student's academics are kind of like in line with the school's average, whether it is their academics or whether it is the extracurriculars or test scores. But it should be still be a challenging, right? A challenge to get accepted. It shouldn't be a super easy application. Students should still be putting thought and effort into those applications. Just because the acceptance rate is a little higher than the reach schools doesn't mean that these are easy schools to get into. These are just schools that have slightly higher acceptance rates, but the student should still be trying hard, because a good college application, remember this, whether a student has the grades to get into the school, if the student doesn't have a good college application, a good essay, good supplemental essays, the student might not get accepted because they didn't complete the assignment. They thought that, I had a good grade, so I'm going to get accepted. So that's why, as I said earlier, Every school on this list should have be well thought out, and when applying, there should be the same level of effort put in, right? And now finally we have there we go, safety schools, or safety, hat and safety. So usually, obviously we can maybe assume what this means. So safety schools, these are schools where the students' academics rank higher than those of the majority of accepted students. So for a student, their safety school is if the student has a 3.7 GPA, the school average GPA for acceptance students, it should be like 3.4. That's just an example. So safety schools are schools that have academics and their average for acceptance students, whether it is extracurriculars, leadership positions, should be lower than what the student has. The acceptance rates at safety schools are high, while admission standards are a bit lower. So compared to target and reach schools, these are just schools that for the students, they might it will be easier to get accepted into. Maybe they won't have as many requirements compared to the other universities. Reach schools should make up 25% of, not reach schools, sorry, safety schools, that's a typo. Safety schools should make up 25% of the students' prospective college list, and the admissions, the chances of getting accepted into your safety school, into student safety school, are highest, are more than 50%. So a safety school is a school where both the parent and the student should feel comfortable that the student will most likely get accepted into. Now, one thing I do want to mention about safety schools and students, Andrea, if you're watching this, I know that you're watching this, and parents too, just because it's a safety school doesn't mean it's a bad institution. So I don't want you guys to think, parents and students, that any school can just be thrown into the safety school, portion of your college list, of the student's college list, because as I said earlier, what happens if the student doesn't get accepted into their, reach schools because, maybe they just didn't get accepted, and then they get accepted into one target school, but, the target school doesn't give them enough financial aid, and they would have to pay a lot of money. So they have to choose between two of their safety schools, but since they just threw in random schools, they maybe also didn't get good financial aid at that institution, or it's a school that when they actually go they realize, oh my goodness, I do not like this school, this is not a place for me, and they end up transferring. So that is why creating a list is important, and it takes me back to that first slide. Why create a college list? Because you don't want to be end up in these type of situations, parents and students. You don't want your student to end in this situation where they didn't do your research, or maybe you didn't help them do their research, and they end up not getting accepted, or getting accepted but realizing that they can't afford the school. So that's why it's important to start from the beginning, start early on, and have all your cards on the table. Know, I am an athlete, so I want to go to a school that has this specific sport, but also offers a major in communications and that is close to home. All right, let's get working. Let's get looking for those schools, right? So it all starts with students knowing themselves, knowing their passions, what they might want to major in. Then parents letting your student know, all right, this is how we can help you financially, or if we cannot help you, just being transparent, being honest, all right? And then researching schools that fall under the family's financial, standards, and also financial needs, the student's personal and academic needs, right? So remember, I'll put it again, research. Look for schools that meet the student's personal, academic, and financial needs. All right, so hopefully that helped you guys out. That was it I know that was a lot. And as I said earlier, this is just scraping the surface of what, it's like creating a well thought out, a correct college list. We do talk more in depth about how to create and build a good college list for for every student. It's more personalized, and we actually show parents how to use those search engines, how to find out your family's EFC, how to find out what college offers good financial aid, all these things. We go more in depth inside Best College Aid, our online course. And as I said earlier, we do have a sale right now going on. It's our summer sale, which is ending quite soon. It's linked below to this video's description. So please make sure that you, if you're interested, you take advantage of this sale going on right now. And now if anybody has any questions, please, this is your time. This is your time to make any questions. I also want to add the weekly live stream schedule because I get a lot of questions for it. And if this is your first time, we are usually live on YouTube on Monday and Thursday at 1 p.m. But notice that our English live streams are obviously on Mondays, and they are given by me, yours truly. And then tomorrow I also have a live stream on Instagram, which is also at 1 p.m. And this is in English. It's in English. And then Wednesday and Thursday, it's our Spanish lives. As I said, Thursday is in YouTube and Wednesday is in Spanish. And my brother David actually, he is, the host of the lives in Spanish usually. So if you feel more comfortable in Spanish, or if you just, want to join the Spanish live, please feel free to come back. And as I said earlier, if you guys have any questions for us, don't hesitate to ask us. Let me see where my contact information is. I had it with me. What is going on? Oh, no, that's not it. All right, so I had the contact information, but if you have any questions, you can just ask it down below. Comment your question. We're usually really good at answering your questions, whether it is on Facebook or on YouTube or on any social media. So you can send us a DM on Instagram. Our @ is @BestCollegeAid on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest, if you like Pinterest. And if you have any questions, you can email us at contact@bestcollegeaid.com and send us an email, or just go on our website and you can find, our contact information there. But it's easy. If you have any questions, just comment them down below. We're happy to answer your questions. And it looks like we don't have any questions right now. Thank you so much then, I guess, for joining today. I had a great time, and hopefully you have a better understanding of my throat is dry, sorry, of how to create a college list. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow on Instagram. Have a great day and stay safe. Bye-bye.